I'm Luis Scott, managing partner of Bader Scott Injury Lawyers, one of the fastest growing law firms in the country, and I'm also the co-founder of 8-Figure Firm Consulting. I've successfully built multiple companies by focusing on leadership, operations, and culture. Using these principles, my companies have generated close to $100 million in revenue. But before any of this success, I started my legal career as a receptionist, and I worked my way up to becoming managing partner. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with leaders and entrepreneurs who have had the guts to step out on their own and the courage to face adversity. They share with us their tips for achievement, the challenges they have faced, and the glory of success. I welcome you to the Guts and Glory Show. Luis Scott here, host of the Guts and Glory Show. I feature top leaders who share the obstacles and challenges of leadership, the guts it takes to succeed, and the glory of success. Today, I have Jeremy Wise here, who has done thousands of interviews with successful entrepreneurs and CEOs, and we've flipped the script. He's going to be interviewing me.
Luis,
Hey,
I totally appreciate you having me, and I'm super excited because I love talking about guts and glory, and we're going to talk about some of your guts and glory stories. Before we do, I just want to mention that the episode is brought to you by 8-Figure Firm Consulting. I know at an 8-Figure firm, you help firms go from 7 figures to 8 figures, and you were telling me that when you started your career, you're working over 80 hours a week probably, making partner, and after you finally started your own law firm, and you wish you had someone walking you through step by step the growth, and that's what you do. So you can check out 8figurefirm.com, check out more, email them if you have questions. And even non-law firms who want to grow, call you too. So you don't have to be the law firm to engage with Luis here. But let's get to it. Guts and glory. There was a time, and there's so many stories. I encourage people to listen to other episodes, but you were 19 years old. What was going on at that time?
So, when you're young, you're trying to figure out your life and who you are, and you don't really have a lot of experiences to talk about courage and things like that. But I was playing baseball in Savannah, and
what position?
I just wasn't happy there. So I played second base and shortstop, down the middle. My dream to play professionally. I think that's the dream of many kids my age. And unfortunately, at this time, I had already had a knee surgery. I had a knee injury. I didn't know if I was going to be able to play professionally. So I wanted to enjoy my college experience. And so, going in and being on a team that didn't have everything right was not an option for me. So I said, I'm going to go talk to my coach. I told my dad, it's my second year. I'm going to talk to the coach. And this is how I'm going to know that I'm supposed to stay here. If he gives me a bigger scholarship, then I'll stay. And if he doesn't, I'm going to leave. And so
what were you unhappy with at the time?
It was just, I was not accustomed to, playing for a coach that was so intense. Like, he was a very intense person. He wanted perfection. He wanted everything to be right. And, I went to high school with a coach who was more of a mentor, a teacher, someone who really worked with you at getting better. And when I went to college, that was not the experience I had at all. They expected you to be good, to be perfect, excellent. Everything was excellent. And, losing is part of the game in baseball. The champions a lot of times lose 45% of their games, but playing at this school, it was like not acceptable at all. So that was very challenging for me. And I also didn't like how people would, I don't take it really well when people speak to you in an aggressive way, especially when I was young. And so I did not like, F-bombs here, F-bombs there about everything. And so I just wasn't happy with that. And I decided one day I'm just going to march into his office. I'm going to tell him, what's on my mind. And I walked in, and I had the courage to go in there and tell him that I was not happy and that I needed a bigger scholarship if I was going to stay. And in typical fashion, he said, "Get the F out of here." So that was the last time I had a conversation with him.
So what did you do next? Because you said you had a conversation with your dad about this, it sounded like. And you said if you walk in and he says, what was that conversation like?
Well, so, my dad is like one of those type of people. He always says, if there's an opportunity, walk through that door. And if it closes, it closes. If not, then, it's the opportunity for you. So I I think part of me talking to the coach was like walking through that door of opportunity. It closed. Clearly, I shouldn't have stayed there. And I started searching for another place to play. I went and tried out at several schools, and I ended up at a school in West Georgia, and where I finished my career, and I had a great time. But the thing is that needed to happen, because I ended up going to West Georgia, where I ended up meeting a judge. Because I met this judge, I had an internship. Because of the internship, I got a job. The job in the legal field that I needed to give me the confidence that I could be a lawyer. And then I went to law school, became a lawyer, and obviously now running a firm with over 150 employees. So that's I think it was all part of the story at the end of the day.
Yeah. So that really led you down this path that you're on now, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought that I would go into the legal field primarily because my parents said that I talked a lot and I love to argue. So, I didn't have any other options, I guess, but I always wanted to go in the legal field. I had a lot of interest in it. And obviously I wanted to make my parents proud. But I think that experience of meeting the judge, I would have never met if I would have stayed in the old school. Oh, and then having that internship, which I wouldn't have had if I would have stayed in the old school, all of that was a catalyst to really get me to where I needed to be. And so, having the guts to go in there and make a decision about my life resulted in the glory of this success. So that's kind of my guts and glory story.
And I want to say, Luis, people can check out other episodes. They could check out, there's 3 moments that changed your life. There's an episode on that. I want to dig a little bit into the guts, because as a kid, even not as a kid, what got you over that hump to be like, to say, I'm going to walk in there and do this? Because I could see, listen, it took me a lot of time and energy to get this scholar, to get to this school. I could see a lot of internal self-talk talking you out of walking into that room.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one of the reasons that people have difficulty with courage is because they believe fear is the indicator that they shouldn't do something. And even at a young age, I always believed that fear was just the thing I had to overcome to do the thing that I wanted to do. So for me, the fact that I was scared of having this conversation with, when you're 19, this person's a grown man, right? Now I realize that the 35, 38-year-old person is not that old. But, when you're 19, a 35, 38-year-old coach is like a dinosaur to you. And so, to have the courage to overcome that, I knew that I had to get past fear that I had of having the conversation. And what that really did for me is that it made me realize that no matter where I am in my life, I can have tough conversations with people and get out of it alive. And that was a key moment for me. And in fact, many people, my employees and friends and family, they all know me as kind of like that tough conversation guy. I never really shy away from tough conversations. And it's because I have the confidence of being in tough conversations in the past. And so
what do you tell yourself internally going into these conversations? Because right now it's becoming second nature. Like if let's say someone's listening, Luis, right now, and they're like, I should be having a tough conversation, or I'm going to be having a tough conversation. What do you tell yourself internally to kind of pump yourself up to actually confront it?
I tell myself the story that I developed from going to court when I was doing my internship. I went to court, and I remember seeing this attorney, and he was sweating profusely. I mean, he was like, you could see it through his shirt. Like he was so sweaty. And then I looked over at the other attorney. I'm over here observing, and that attorney is like shaking, like just shaking, like his legs shaking. And what I realized in that moment is that both sides are nervous. Both sides are fearful. Both sides don't know what's going to happen. One is scared because they may lose. The other one is scared because they may make the fool of themselves. But whatever the reason is, everyone's dealing with an insecurity. So when I'm going into this tough conversation, whether it's with a director in our office or somebody has to be terminated, I just tell myself the other person is just as nervous as I am. And so what actually ends up happening is then I lose the nervousness. I lose the fear. And I walk into the room with a tremendous sense of confidence. But when you start to realize that the other person is just as human, and the other person, in fact, is as nervous or even more nervous or even more fearful as you may be, then we're all in the same playing field of emotional energy. So there's no reason to not do what you need to do. So that's kind of what I tell myself.
Love it. I think everyone should check out gutsandgloryshow.com. Check out more episodes. You can go to 8figurefirm.com. Luis, I appreciate you having me.
All right. Thank you for being here. See ya.
You've been listening to the Guts and Glory Show with Luis Scott. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to share. For more information on this episode, please see the show notes at www.gutsandgloryshow.com. And join us next time as we talk to another leader in business that had the guts to overcome all odds for the glory of success.